Hi guys, in this video I'm going to be going through the top lootable locations within Dead Matter. I've gone through all the dev vlogs and these are my picks for the best lootable locations. Some of them will also be possible to claim as a base, so I'll be telling you which of those can as well. Most of them can. And stick around to the end because the final building is by far the most interesting and it cannot be claimed as a base. Alright, let's get into it. Number 1, the Pizzeria. The Pizzeria can keep a squad of survivors fed for a week. This is probably 4 to 6 players. And it's a great starting location for an early game base, as it will be in small towns as well as larger ones, and so you can kind of find one that's a bit out of the way and you're fed for a week as long as you're there. Number 2, the clothing store. The clothing store has no food but does contain lots of clothing, so it's not a place where you want to make a base, but you can find clothing that will be protective and can keep you defended from bite attacks from zombies, potentially even some melee weapons, and potentially even offer some protection from bullets depending on what the clothing store offers. As well as this, it will probably offer warm clothing as well for if you're going into a high altitude area. So it's useful to check this area out, although you probably do not want to make a base here. Number 3, the dollar store. The dollar store is also not a place you want to stay at for long, but it's a good place to go if you're in a pinch. It contains lots of cheap utility items and also nutritionally poor food. They haven't specified what kind of utility items, but I'm guessing you probably have like knives, maybe spades or axes, but just of very poor quality and likely to break quickly. Number 4, the hardware store. The hardware store contains loads of crafting supplies, and they have also specified there'll be other loot there. I'm guessing that this will mean low tier weapons such as axes, hammers, spades, and potentially something ranged like a nail gun, but you know, that's all guesswork. Number 5, the grocery store. The grocery store has a huge quantity of high quality food. It's an amazing place to set up a base, especially for a large squad as well as a small squad, because you're basically fed for as long as you want. However, it's going to be right in the middle of a big town. Potentially if there's a couple big towns, you'll be in the middle of them both, but either way, it's going to be very vulnerable to enemy players and also to zombies. Number 6, bookstore. The bookstore does not contain any equipment, food, clothing, and is not a good place to set up a base, but it does have one saving grace. It contains books which can enhance character abilities. It's not specified how these books enhance character abilities. It's probably unlikely that the moment you pick it up and read it, you instantly gain skills like you would in a game like Skyrim, but potentially it has a situation where you can actually actively sit down and read the book, or maybe if you keep it as a handheld item, it slowly increases the value of a skill up to a certain point, but that hasn't been specified, and again, that is guesswork on my part. Number 7, burger chain. The burger chain is a great building for a small base. It's going to be in both small and large towns, and it's very defendable, and as well as this, although it has a small amount of food, its key aspect is that it has a small kitchen. So players that go out and hunt can bring the food back and it can be prepared within the base, in the kitchen, instead of players having to create fires. Number 8, Safeway. Safeway is a massive supermarket with a huge range of goods. You're going to find weapons, clothing, fuel, and food there, most likely. But again, it's going to be hard to defend if you only have a small squad, and it's going to be right in the middle of big cities, meaning it's vulnerable to enemy players and to zombies. Number 9, police station. The police station contains a vehicle garage, an evidence locker, and an armory with mid-tier weapons and gear. So this is an awesome place to go loot if you're looking to be able to have PvP or PvE with the zombies as well. However, there's probably going to be a lot of like-minded players that are also going to loot this area, so as they say in the devlogs, plan accordingly. Number 10. Commercial warehouses. Commercial warehouses contain crafting supplies and are also very defendable. They're perfect for a small or mid-level team and a small size team. You can hold out in them for a long time. Their only disadvantage is that they don't come with a lot of food, so you're going to have players going out and looting or going out and hunting. Number 11. Containment Center. These are quite interesting buildings because they spawn randomly throughout the map, so you never know where they're going to be. But they have lots of crafting supplies, a small amount of weapons, and a huge amount of medical supplies. So it's a great area to go stock up on for fighting and crafting. However, this is one of the most highly concentrated areas for the undead in Dead Matter, so you've got to be careful about that. Number 12. Summer Camp. Summer Camp is an alright area for smaller and mid-level teams. There's unlikely to be a lot of food there, although there will be a little bit. It's very out of the way though, so it's a low risk area to go for. You're unlikely to have many players and zombies attacking you, and as well as this, it has camping and survival supplies. So you could either hold up in a base there, or you could just make a short stop there, loot it, go further into the woods and set up a camping base. It's up to you. It's also a good area to go for solo players. Number 13. Underground mining complexes. These are interesting areas because they don't necessarily have gear that you personally will find useful, but it does contain a large amount of coal. And in the early game, when players are struggling for power, or even in the mid to late game, when certain players are hoarding power, this coal will be a valuable and tradable resource. There are also a small amount of puzzles within the mining complex, and these will probably have mid-tier loot behind them. Potentially some high tier loot behind the harder levels. Now for the final location in the game, and this is really awesome one. You cannot claim it as a base. It's the bunkers. They are end game locations and are procedurally generated. So every time you spawn in on a server and you get to the end game, the bunkers are going to look completely different. They have loads of loot underneath and loads of undead because it's supposed to be the hardest and most fun location in the game to go to. There's loads of high tier loot, and as well as this, there's also going to be some legendary items with a variety of effects. I personally can't wait to see what these are. I've speculated about it myself. Just as a couple of ideas, you could potentially have some sort of Fallout 4-esque suit which gives you enhanced protection and monitors your body's levels such as heart rate and infection rate and stuff like that. That would be really cool. Maybe they have drones within them that allow you to do surveillance of the map. Maybe they have special weapons that are just like incredibly long range or have an incredibly high rate of fire. It's impossible to tell, or maybe it's weapon attachments. You could never know. It could even potentially be some sort of beacon that attracts zombies to attack the players around you. The opportunities for this really are endless. Anyway, those were my picks for the top lootable locations within the game of Dead Matter. I hope you liked them. If you did, please consider leaving a like or subscribing, as I'm still growing the channel. The date up to the closed alpha is rapidly coming up. The Dead Matter team said it'd be out by the end of July. Even if they don't meet that deadline, it's not long now before us alpha players can get in there. I'll also be doing some gameplay for those who do not have alpha access, or those who do that just want to see some gameplay. So watch out for that as soon as the alpha version of the game is released. If you have any suggestions on how I can improve the quality of my videos, or any topics you'd like to see me cover in the future, please leave them in the comments down below. I'll also be linking to my blog in the description of this video, where you can find exclusive content, including exclusive interviews with game developers about their upcoming games.